may sound, but do you know, since times immemorial, music has played a vital role in boosting a soldier's morale, not only during war, but also during peace times. And keeping this sentiment in mind, we at Podcast Call of Duty have incorporated a martial tune in our podcast. All thanks to Colonel V.D. Singh, who composed this tune for us. And he is our guest today. Talking about him, he is a Fauji with olive green blood running in his veins and music filled in his heart. In conversation with Poonam Joshi.
Welcome to podcast Call of Duty. Real soldiers, real stories. And guess what? Today our guest is a very special person who has been with us from the very inception of this program. And why is he special? Because he added soul to our podcast. He added music here. So folks, I very proudly present to you Colonel V.D. Singh. Welcome, Colonel V.D.
Thank you, Poonam. Jai Hind to everyone. And it's such a delight for me to be a part of this podcast today.
So generally what we do is we start with the childhood impressions because we believe those impressions go a long way in making a person what he is today. So let us hear something about your childhood, your growing up days.
So in my case, my early childhood education after nursery was basically done in Saraswati Shishu Mandir. Now, these schools are not too many, but in all the major cities, these schools are there. And the kind of Indian cultural values which are imbibed in these schools, they also leave an everlasting impression in the mind of a child, which happened in my case also. And of course, later years, that is class 6th and onward, it was all convent. My inclination towards Indian culture, Indian tradition, and more in Indian music, all these things have been shaped greatly by that. I'll just give you one small example. As a student of class 4th and 5th, and we were taught something known as legium. I wonder if you have heard about this. It's a Maharashtrian instrument, legium. Very graceful movements. And legium as an instrument, has been existing since the days of Chhatrapati Maharaja Shivaji. The other thing in which I was initiated was playing a side drum, which is also known as kettle drum. In fact, on this very drum, you do marching. It adds so much adrenaline rush in you. In my case, since I got the proper environment and encouragement from my parents, so that's how it carried on.
So that's very wonderful. I get to know how music came into your life. But how did army happen?
Yeah, I started my career as a software engineer. I did my master's in operational research and industrial engineering, and I joined Birla, and I worked with them for about 2 years as a systems analyst. In fact, I developed their systems. It is kind of a coincidence that I happened to see an ad in the newspaper where they had advertised, that technical graduates are welcome in the army. And of course, my early training of Air Wing NCC also played a role in this. I was a cadet in Air Wing NCC, and I was a gold medalist in flying. So I was fairly good in flying, which I carried on in the army also.
Yes, I've read that you are a qualified aviator with aeronautical engineering, and you've been part of the microlight flying under adventure wing of the Indian Army.
Absolutely right, Poonam. So this is how it happened, but it was a very smooth transition from working in a corporate sector as a software engineer and coming into the army. But I think God had already decided, and God had already chalked out my future life, where I spent 30 years in the army, very, very fruitfully.
So after listening to all this, I do understand that music has always played a very important part in your life. And after going through a lot of things in the, reading about army and music, I realized that music plays an intrinsic part in the army itself. Every unit has a song and there are martial tunes. Can you throw some light on this?
Yeah. Poonam, as you rightly said, it's an intrinsic part. There is a kind of, recognition, or you can say that an identification mark is always there, whether it's a regiment or an individual. You see, when we talk about the martial music and its history, I think it goes back several thousand years. Because in Rig Veda, it has been mentioned somewhere about music being used during the long marches, whether it was during Ram Rajya or during Mahabharata, which was 5,000 years back. It has been clearly stated that they used musical instruments like drums, mridangam, conch shells, shankh, things like that. And it played a very, very vital role in invigorating a soldier, because those days soldiers had to march for days and weeks and months together. And in order to overcome the mental fatigue and physical fatigue, the kind of music which was invented in-house used to be played basically to fill in their adrenaline and go on relentlessly. So that's how music has always played a very, very vital role. However, in case of Indian Army, it got impetus, kind courtesy Field Marshal K.M. Cariappa, Order of British Empire. He was the one who thought very, very seriously about martial music being an integral part of Indian Army. And he formally introduced it in a place called Pachmari, where Army Education Course Center is based, which receives students from all over the world, not only from India. They are given training in various instruments, and these instruments are very, very rare to find otherwise. Today, Military Music Wing, Pachmari, is known world over.
So I wanted to ask you, did you ever perform for the army while in service? How was it? Did you get that feeling of connectedness? Did you feel the energy? Did the people listening to you feel the energy? Is there an emotional connect when there is music played for the men in uniform? How is it different from a concert that happens in the civil arena?
Yeah. Fortunately, I've had experience in both the fields, because I was also part of a band called Sparks in Lucknow when I was a student. And after joining the army, I performed in various mess functions, raising days and things like that. Music was something which always gave a great amount of relief from the tension of life. And there is an immediate connect with the people around. I very vividly remember I was posted in Joshimath, and I was just a junior captain, but I was known all over that area because of my one talent, that is singing. Very often, they would call me, and which included various units around, Garhwal Scouts and other units. Right up to Dharchula I used to go. These are the hill stations, which are very beautiful, and everyone liked music.
At this point, how about having some little song in your voice?
Okay. I'll do a little unplugged thing. I'll sing a few lines of one of my favorite songs of Hemant Kumar. लहरों पे लहर उल्फत है जवां रातों के सहर चली आओ यहाँ सितारे टिमटिमाते हैं तो आजा आजा मचलती जा रही ये हवाएं आजा आजा लहरों पे लहर उल्फत है जवां, रातों के सहर चली आओ यहाँ.
Wow, that was melodious.
Thank you.
And now coming back to the military music. And, I think we have music for different occasions in the army. I think all the three forces have their own bands and they have certain, songs, or I should say some tunes.
Regimental tunes, yeah.
Talk about that.
You see, most of these regimental tunes have we have inherited from the Western side. However, in last couple of decades, certain martial music has been created using Indian ragas also, and each regiment is recognized by its own tune, which has got a folk flavor, like Pahadi. When you listen to some regimental tunes played by Kumaon Regiment, Garhwal Regiment, so you will find there's a flavor of that region. Similarly, most of the tunes which have come from the Western countries, they have their own flavor, like Viennese music, which is waltz. Then you have got slow march, quick march. All these things have come from the Western country, and there's nothing wrong in adopting good, best practices from the Western world. Musical instruments which were played during Bhagwan Ram and Bhagwan Krishna, those instruments were very primitive. The primitive form of horn was actually cow's horn, conch shell. And when you talk about Mahabharata, if you read, there is when Lord Krishna, he blew conch, which he called Panchajanya. What happens with these kind of instruments? They generate certain kind of energy. So every regiment, every unit is recognized by its own music, whether it is played on bagpipes, it is played on cornet, or anything.
So music is also, I should say, a way to keep yourself grounded, connected to those who are away from you at home. There is some romance also in music for a soldier because he's away from the family. I think that also could be bringing out some very beautiful emotions in the people who are so far away, right? So another thing that comes to my mind right now is a musician becoming an army man. So the training must have been tough, and I'm sure there are some incidents that you would like to narrate to us which are funny as well as, that tell us more about you as an army man.
Yeah. You see, when I entered Indian Military Academy, Dehradun, as a gentleman cadet, the first thing which I encountered from my seniors was, "Oh, welcome, dope. So you're a part of the army now. So what are you good at?" I said, "Sir, I am a trained flyer and a musician." "Okay. So now first of all, get rolling, hands down on the ground and start rolling." So that was a very good welcome for me. So for a moment I forgot all about music and flying and started obeying the orders of my seniors. Later on, a couple of days, when my seniors thought this guy is, whatever he's saying, maybe there is some sachai in this. So since I was carrying my guitar also with me, you play or sing? I said, "Sir, I play as well as I sing." Then of course, then I sort of, in the evening, in the ante room, we all sat down and I sang a couple of lines, old songs and things like that. They liked it. Meanwhile, there was a duty officer, a young captain sahab. They basically keep an eye on cadets if they're up to any mischief. So he overheard me playing this, and next day I was called. So I thought, oh my God, now I'm caught, because probably it is something which is not expected. So I said, "Sir, have I committed any?" No. We want you to be a part of music club. In the academy, there are various types of clubs: photography club, music club. I was very happy.
I also feel that music also reminds us that soldiers are also human. They also have emotions. It's not just all about war and hardening of passions and probably all weapons and ammunition. So there are some surs also, some notes also in their life. And I'm sure those who themselves can't sing but they all can appreciate music and feel connected and feel light, I think. That might be one reason why Army always had music.
Very true. I must mention one more thing over here, Poonam. There was a movie, a black and white movie called Hakikat. It became very famous. Even now, it is screened.
I was about to come to it. You know why? Because I wanted to ask you, how does music help people after war? And they have seen a lot during a war. And sometimes their emotions are frozen. They have to come out of it. It probably works like therapy.
Yeah, it happens not only during the wars, also even after the culmination of exercises which are very, very strenuous, joint exercises. I've been a part of joint exercises. You basically just want to let out your things and feel absolutely good, forgetting your mental fatigue and physical fatigue. So in that I still remember there used to be a romantic song in Hakikat which connects a soldier very, very dearly to his family. मैं ये सोच कर उसके दर से उठा था कि वो रोक लेगी मना लेगी मुझको. Now, this song in that movie beautifully has been shown because it shows that there is a chap who just got married and then he has been sent to the battlefield. It is very obvious for a human being. I mean, a soldier is first a human being to feel lonely because his wife is there, his parents are there in his village, and he is out there to fight a war with the enemy. So those mixed emotions are always there. So in the during the limited hours of relaxation, or maybe a couple of hours, he's just singing this. Imagine, just by singing, you get so much of relief. You are allowing your emotions to come out, maybe in the form of tears and the song.
Do you recall any such incident, maybe after a huge exercise or with your battalion, your unit, with lots of folks, you've sung after finishing the entire exercise together?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it started right during the training days in Indian Military Academy. One of the toughest exercises which we do in IMA is exercise Chindit, which involves a 40-kilometer march. Everyone has to go through this rut, and for days together, we are spending in jungles and various types of terrains far away from civilization. I remember we were a group of a few techies, and we were resting in the tent. Because I used to be the starter, because now rest everyone, somebody is talking about his girlfriend, someone is talking about his parents and things like that. And as far as music is concerned, you don't really have to sing a patriotic song. Any song may come in your mind, and you just start singing. So it has happened even during the training days, and even after the post-commission days, whenever we went for the mountain exercises or desert exercises. The final day always used to be very, very eventful. Because later on, of course, when I had put in already about 20 years of service or something like that, so one could take little liberty. So I used to carry my guitar. Somebody asked me, he said, "You're going on exercise, why are you carrying a guitar?" I said, a soldier carries his gun, but I carry both.
This is so beautiful. You carry both, your music and your arms and ammunition together. So beautiful. Yeah. So next thing that I can ask you and that I want to know is your role of your family in your music as well as your army life, because you've put in 30 years of service.
Correct.
And now you lead a retired life pursuing your passion of music. How is it? How's it going?
It's been 5 years, Poonam, that I got superannuated and happily got into civil life. People say civil life, not against it, because my most of my schedules are still like the army. I get up early. Life in the army has its own ups and downs in terms of frequent movements, especially after getting married. When you have to move out every 2 years here and there, it does create ripples. But overall, my family includes my parents were very happy because army is one profession. More than profession, it's a passion, because nobody compels you to join. You join purely voluntarily, and then if you have that martial fervor in you, you do your best. And at the end of it, when it's a time of retirement, actually a soldier never retires. That's the wrong word. We just get over one part of our profession, that the first inning, and we start our second innings. Like in my case, I didn't start my second inning with flying or doing some job in the infotech department. I chose music. So both these phases have been wonderful and accepted beautifully by the family. My wife also is a fifth generation army brat. So my in-laws are from Gurkha Rifles. So it has been taken very, very positively.
Now you have been recognized in the field of music internationally. You've got some awards, and in your own house you have your studio, right? Padarth, that is the name. Tell us something about that.
Okay. Padarth is the name of my studio. This name did not come randomly. Padarth means substance, something which can exist in any form. So like music is also Padarth, because it exists in the form of sound energy. Since the very beginning, I was very fond of experimenting with music, not just copying somebody. You hear Engelbert or you hear Cliff Richard and you start singing. That's a different thing. The other thing was, with me particularly, was that I would go deep into music, making of music and things like that. And that's how this idea came to me, because every time I had to record something, I had to go to a studio. Going to a studio and recording your music is a tough thing. So I arranged some money, and then I said, no, I have to establish my own studio. So while I was posted in Delhi, I actually launched Padarth Studio online in 2009 in the month of August. One of the rooms was converted into a makeshift kind of studio, because I was very much in the service, and every 2 year or 3 year one had to move. So I had to keep those portable things. Post retirement, I'm in Ambala, and now more or less settled. And here I have added some more modules in my studio, basically to make my life easier. So I've got a host of instruments with me. I play almost all instruments except for violin, various types. And I've been performing professionally also, as a drummer, as a guitarist, as a bassist, as a pianist, as a vocalist also. Yeah, I do. And my recent achievements have been like I received a Best Music Composer Award in 2020 at International Film Festival, Jodhpur.
Whoa, congratulations. In fact, you are an example of an army man who has done all his 30 years of army service to the best of his capacity and yet never forgot his passion for music. I mean, your thoughts, your music, your work, it was seamlessly intertwined. The next thing now, what I want to ask is about hobbies, the importance of hobbies, because I think it started as a hobby. And I want you to give a nice message for the youth of today. When they do one thing, they tend to forget the other. So how can they, actually, whatever they like, how can they proceed with it together?
Yeah. The youth of today is basically very, very stressed out because of the competition. This competition starts right from your score, score, whether you have scored good marks in B.Tech or M.Tech, 90+% and all that. That's a different thing altogether. But developing a particular type of hobby, whether it is music, playing an instrument, or even sports, one odd hobby should also be there as a part of your life in any profession. Making an excuse that, I am a senior executive in a firm or a CEO, I hardly have time for myself. This is an excuse. It only adds to your blood pressure score and sugar levels. having one odd hobby really helps you to shape your mental health. Everyone says, in the evening I spend 1 hour in the gym and I come back and, have a drink or two and then I go off to sleep. Gym is not a hobby. You have to keep fit because you want to keep going. You want your knees to be in action all the time so that you can keep running around. But what about your mental health? The neurons in your brain, they are also hungry. So my simple message is, please have one odd hobby. You don't have to have many hobbies, but at least have one hobby. It will add value to your life.
So from all that I've heard, I can say is that music for most people is like a natural and pervasive part of their life. It is everywhere. It helps us express otherwise the inexpressible maybe emotions, thoughts, and it serves to calm our nerves most of the times, like you said, and any hobby for that matter, any hobby. And with this, I think I want one last lovely number from you before I say goodbye. And this time let it be something jazz, because jazz is what you love most.
One of my favorites is Autumn Leaves, which I used to sing even as a college student and even now. The falling leaves drift by my window. They urgently of red and gold. I see your lips, their summer kisses, and sunburned hand I used to hold. Since you went away, the days grew long. I soon I'll hear, oh, winter song, but I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves start to fall.
Today's experience has been ethereal, very different from what we always have, because it has more of military, but this time it was all about music and military. And why not? Once in a while, we need to soothe our nerves and our emotions. So we really enjoyed this conversation with you, Colonel VD. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. I'm truly privileged. Thank you.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Do subscribe and share it amongst your friends and family. Available on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Don't forget to hit the bell icon for notifications of the next story. For any other information, drop us an email at podcastcallofduty@gmail.com.